What's up, everyone? How you doing? Welcome to another edition of Mobile Coffee with Colin. Yes, I am traveling. I am actually just outside of Chicago right now. Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving, and it's time to grab your coffee. I know we're doing Coffee with Colin a little bit earlier today, and welcome everyone who's able to join us. Today, I have got a friend of mine who's going to be talking all about filmmaking and TV making and what it's like to be a showrunner and a director and a producer on television shows. I actually met this fine young gentleman at the Rama Drama Conference in West Palm Beach, Florida back in June. And I'm actually going to be in Chicago this upcoming weekend for the next Rama Drama event, where 2 Hallmark movies are going to be premiering. While you guys are here on the chat, feel free to type in any questions that you may have for my guests. Thank you joining us from Sweden. We have Marika, we have Cheyenne, we have Charlene, we have Milagros, we have Lillian. What's going on? Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are, I don't know if you can tell, but Thanksgiving, I think I ate a house this past weekend. But it was great to see my family, and I am, again, like I said, I was traveling, and I've got my Starbucks going on here. So wherever you are at, feel free to grab coffee or any sort of adult beverage that you want. And be sure to also download the Particular app. Particular is the app that allows you to find out where all the best movies are trending, where you can watch them, and you can find out wherever any of your favorite actors are, wherever their projects are. Particular was created by my friend Todd Courtney, and it is an amazing app to stay connected with the newest and best movies out there. And at the end of the episode, we're going to be doing our Particular Pick 6. And I have my lit list up on Particular, so you can go there and check out my favorite movies. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give a little introduction to my next guest. Again, he is a director, writer, and showrunner on film and television. And he has been doing both scripted and reality television. So this is going to be a great conversation talking about the differences between what it's like to direct a scripted TV show or film compared to a reality show. So he has done episodes of The Kardashians, Keeping Up with the Kardashians. He was a director on The Simple Life with Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie. He's done episodes of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. He's done 90 Day Fiancé, and he's had 2 Hallmark films that he's also directed, and he's working on a couple of other projects. He and I are actually working on pitching a few projects right now to the different networks, so we're going to be talking about that as well. So again, if you have any questions, all you got to do is type it in the chat here, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn. And this guy's just an all-around amazing, awesome dude. And he also happens to teach at the film and television. He teaches film and television at Savannah College of Art and Design. So if you're interested in getting more information and learning more about what it's like to work in the film industry, you can just move to Savannah for a semester and take his class. Anyway, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring to the stage Mr. Jeff Fisher.
Oh, hey, man. Thank you for that nice intro. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you, as always.
Good to see you as well. And yeah, like I said, we met at Rama Drama a few months ago. And since then, I've been venturing into this whole world of pitching and producing and trying to get my own projects off the ground. So I appreciate you being here so that we could have a conversation a little more in depth on what it really takes to get projects from the page stage, that's just words on a piece of paper, all the way to what we see on TV and on the big screen. So thanks for being here.
Hey, dude, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us, Jeff, was filmmaking, was acting, was the entertainment industry, was that something that you were always interested in from an early age?
Yeah, man. I was like 5 years old. I think of my spoiler alert for our question later, but my mom took me to see the Poseidon Adventure, which like the original one that they made. I was just obsessed with that movie. I'm sorry.
Who was in that? The original?
Oh, it was Gene Hackman, Shelley Winters, Ernest Borgnine, Carol Pamela Sue Martin. It was like one of those big kind of like little star-studded casts they used to run on the bottom of the movie poster. But
Okay.
yeah, I was, and it's like I kept asking like who, basically like who made it. My mom told me that there was like a director of the movie, and I was like, that was my battle cry. I was always trying to do that ever since.
Okay, awesome. And since uh, then did you say, okay, mom, that's what I want to do. I want to go study film. And did you go to film school? Did you go to college for film?
I did. I went to film school in your hometown. I went to University of Florida for the first 2 years, then I transferred to Columbia College in Chicago, and I went to film school there. And dude, I was so psyched. I mean, it was like so exciting to like be in a bigger city and trying to like be with other people that were like into movies and trying to make movies. It was a great experience because I'd been like trying to like make stuff with my friends and
Yeah.
shoot promos for the yearbook in high school, stuff like that, so it was great to try
And
to learn more.
shooting on like 8 millimeter, like real film back then.
Yeah, it was more video cameras, which weren't as sexy. And then when I got to film school, I got my hands on a Bolex, which would run the 16 millimeter film, and you'd kind of splice it and do all the and do the sound editing, make a little soundtrack separately. So yeah,
Okay.
not sure like the image you can get on that new iPhone is
Oh yeah.
way it's way sexier, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what's so great nowadays is that you can use these to actually film feature films. I mean,
It's
it's crazy
great.
what you can do.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's a pretty great camera.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so, how have you seen the industry change since from when you started to where it is right now with regards to um, people who are looking to get into the industry? And is it become more democratized with the ability to use these for anyone and everyone to get into the business, or is there still a lot to learn with regards to breaking into the business?
Such a great question, man. Well, so Colin, I mean, I think when I started, like, I remember when I got to Chicago, right, and I like got to actually make my first like project, and I had to get all that equipment, right. I had to get like the camera and the lighting packages like up to where I was living, like off Addison and like 3600 North, and just getting the stuff up to my apartment in the winter on the L train. I'm like, wow, you have to really want to do this, right? Because it's
Mhm.
such an endeavor, and now you kind of have that in your pocket. So it's I think the point of entry to actually be able to make content is simpler because you can do it on your phone. You don't have to send film away to be processed. You don't have to, you're not like hand splicing editing. So that stuff is easier. Um, and you have a distribution mechanism with things like TikTok and YouTube, so you can really kind of get your stuff out there. I don't know. I don't know if it. I feel like the industry is really competitive, and I know I've watched previous episodes of this, but I love your show, dude. By the way, I think you're so good at you have
Thank you.
great interviewer. It but like as you've heard, I still think there's something like to the old fashioned way of actually going out to LA or New York and trying to break into that market, because I feel like especially Los Angeles, like the industry still kind of pulses out of there. They're still creating a lot of content and
Yeah.
green lighting a lot of content out there. So
Yeah.
easier and in some ways I think still worth the leap.
Yeah. And you're currently in Atlanta right now, right?
I mean, right now I'm in New York City, yeah,
Uh,
but yeah, I moved down to Atlanta like 5.5 years ago after 23 years in LA. Yeah.
and was that for work that you moved to Atlanta for?
Yeah, it was, LA was it was getting to feel a little grindy, after that time, and there was so much production going on in Atlanta, and I'd had some like extended jobs down there. I had some good friends down there, and
Mhm.
I thought it might be like a new way, a smart move, right? I don't know. To be honest, the jobs I'm going after, they're still coming out of LA or New York. So I find myself trying to get there to stay current, as much as I can.
Yeah, I mean, because there is a ton of stuff shooting in Atlanta. I mean, they're building
It
studios.
is.
And
It's shooting, but by the time it gets on location, the directors are has already been prepping, has already been hired and prepped. So I find like being out in LA or being in New York, I get more FaceTime with people that could actually hire me. So
yeah,
yeah,
it is pretty strange how when I was living in Los Angeles, when people know that you're accessible in LA, it seems like movies get or meetings get pushed and rescheduled. And when I say I'm only in LA for 2 days or 3 days, then there's a sense of urgency that people know that, well, I'm only there for 2 or 3 days. So it's usually more effective with trying to actually meet with people.
100%, man. This is so
Yeah.
lame. I probably shouldn't say this, but so when I first got to Atlanta and I was like trying to get back to LA, I would send these execs like emails, be like, "Hey, I'm gonna be in LA from June 3rd to June 6th. Would you have like 5 minutes to get together and catch up?" And literally, when I get like 3 or 4 yeses, I'd book my plane ticket. I'd be like, "Okay, I'm gonna get out there," and then
Hey, whatever
I try,
works, man. Whatever
yeah,
works. Yeah.
try to. It's still a hustle, man. But
Yeah.
just just with a 4.5 hour plane flight tacked on.
So with the projects that you've done, because as you've done reality and you've done scripted stuff, do you have a preference on which you do?
Oh yeah, totally, man. I love. I mean, the scripted stuff is where my heart is. I think we talked about this before. I made like these two short films that did okay at the festival circuit. One was a romantic comedy, and the other was a rom-com musical. And I can't believe I got jobs directing reality TV off those movies, but they helped me pay those short films off my credit cards. So
Okay.
but yeah, I mean, that's where my heart is. And then after I was doing, I got lucky with reality TV, and I was doing it so much. And I would, every time I would wrap a show, I would try to shadow on a scripted show. I try to connect the dots and, shadow on, oh my God, man, I must have shadowed on like a dozen shows, which is like you follow the director, around and try to like get to know the
Mm.
crew and the execs. And I was having such a tough time convincing anybody that even though I made those short films and that the reality TV skill set would transfer to scripted. So then after this crazy reality gig that I shot up in the UP in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan in February, I came back to LA, and that show had some wild tropes to it. And I was working on a show with Jennifer Lopez called Dance Life. It was kind of like The Hills for dancers for MTV. And I think I usually have like a 6:30 a.m. call time, and I made myself get up at like 3:30 or 4 in the morning to bang out this terrible first draft of the script that became Killer Movie, my first feature about a killer loose on a reality film set, right? And that was
Okay.
how I finally got my first feature made. And then I had to figure out how to get it financed and get it
Yeah.
distributed.
So tell us a little bit about that, because when movies are made, they're either studio movies or they're independent films. And when you have an independent film, you have to find private investors that bring money to the deal. So you've got to combine. It's a combination of trying to sell foreign territories beforehand, so that you can then have some of that money up front to be able to then film the movie, or it's either papered where then you go to a debt or equity financing company to say, okay, we've got these territories that are going to buy the film for this amount of money as soon as
Yeah.
it's done, but we need some upfront money to be able to produce the project. And then once it's delivered, then we will get that money paid back. So there's quite a few financing steps that are involved with the independent film, whereas with studios, it's a lot harder to get stuff greenlit. But then once they are, they're essentially it's all
You're
done and
you're in the
paid for.
machine, and you got top-notch marketing and everything else. Yeah. Oh, dude, it was. I was wishing that I got an MBA instead of a film school degree after trying to put that together. But I think we talked about this a little bit in Florida. So I wrote the script. I went through like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 drafts of the script. I probably could have gone through more looking back at it. You want your first movie to be more like the reality of your fifth movie, right? Like when you've already like made these mistakes and could truncate exposition and communicate with a composer. But so I got the script done. And okay, I gotta shorten this story. So I found a company. It was like a sales agent, distribution company that liked the script, and basically they said, look, if you could raise half the equity, I think it had like a $1.8 million budget. And if you could raise half the equity, then we'll do the other half. And it was kind of like what you were describing, Colin. It was like gap financing, foreign pre-sales, but they wouldn't give me any list of actors. And I worked as a casting assistant. I always I was so passionate about casting and and actors. And I so I did, and raising the money was crazy. It was like 1,000 no's, right? I'm like, I have to ask, there you have to ask people for
Yeah.
money, right? So uncomfortable, right? How do you bring that up in conversation? Here's my film I'm really excited about. Do you want to write a check, right? So my buddy who I just saw, he and his wife and kids over the weekend here in New York. He was a Wall Street guy. We went to undergrad together at Florida, and he taught me about like a strike point and and the return of the return on investment. And since film was like a high risk investment, you had to have a higher ROI, return on the investment to offer it, and they get first money back plus a bump if the movie does better. Okay, anyway, so
What kind of return do investors
so
normally get in a film?
So on the independent movie, it was first dollar back for the movie plus a 20% ROI, return on their investment. Then once it reached 120, it splits between like actor and deferrals, and the other 50% goes to the investors. So once the movie becomes whole, which at that point would be like $3 million, then they get a 50% split of any upside.
Okay.
So I learned how to pitch that. And then, dude, it was like, I was like shooting all day on reality shows, then driving to like Burbank to meet at a karaoke bar with like a dentist's son who had acting aspirations, whose dad wanted to like invest in movies or something like that. You're like, it's just like pitching, you're pitching your project so much, and you get a bunch of no's. And I got no's to the point where I'm like, because you can't touch any of the money that you raised, obviously, until you raise the whole budget. But okay, I'm gonna skip ahead of the story. I ended up raising. Sorry, babbling here. I raised half the budget, right? And I was like, okay, we got it. And they gave me, and
the
then
budget was $3 million.
it was 1.8. So I think it was 1.8. It was 1.5, and we had a rebate. We were shooting in Minnesota, or we were shooting in a incentivized state. So it was 750, I think, was the raise I had to get to go. So I raised that 750, and they gave me their casting list for it. And this is no offense to these actors, no offense whatsoever. But I mean, this ended up, just think about it. These roles ended up being played by Paul Wesley, Kaylee Cuoco, Leighton Meester. Ended up playing. Or I'm trying to think. Or
Paul Wesley from Vampire Diaries.
From Vampire Diaries. Kaylee, who went on to Big Bang Theory, and Leighton went on to Gossip Girl. But okay, I'll back up. They gave me their three choices, and it was Udo Kier, who maybe Miriam knows, is a fine German actor, a little older now. Okay, David Carradine, and an actress named Dominique Swain, who had done the remake of Lolita. And I'm like, okay. And there were two coaches in this story. I'm like, if you want, Udo Kier and David Carradine to play the coaches, and they want to do it, that's awesome. No, I mean, they wanted them to play the 25-year-old leads, like the part that Paul played in 2008. And I was looking for somebody with comedy for the Blanca part. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I don't even want to see that movie. I don't know less make it. So,
and these financiers, they said who they wanted.
this was the distribution company, right? So that's who made their foreign sales, their foreign pre-sales make sense. And I I had started casting. A friend of mine that I worked in casting with, we had got a little bit. We got like 50 grand of the budget released to Location Scout because it was called Dead of Winter when I originally wrote it, because we needed to be filming while there was still snow in Minnesota, and start casting. And I found these like 6 unknown actors, right, or quote unquote unknown. This was 2007, and I cut together their reel and I went back to the investor pool. I'm like, look, I've done my due diligence with my friends that work in marketing at the studio. They're like, the star of a horror movie, it is the genre. You want to put the best possible actors in it. That's who you want to put. And they cut this reel with Paul Wesley's audition, Kaylee's audition. It was Torrey DeVito, Rob Buckley, Leighton. Leighton was a straight offer. We had tape on Leighton at the time, and then I'm leaving a couple people out. Anyway, I cut this reel. I'm like, look at. I think these actors are fantastic. Here's what I heard from the due diligence I did, and those existing investors, they doubled down and they let us just go ahead with that cast based on that reel, and we got to shoot with them. And then 6 months later, Kaylee, Big Bang went on the air. Gossip Girl went on the air. Paul booked Vampire Diaries. Tori wound up on Pretty Little Liars. Rob Buckley took over One Tree Hill. So
you lucked out having these actors blow up before your movie came out.
Yeah, I looked at they wanted to do it. I got to have my first choice in all the parts. I was very lucky.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. Were you happy with the outcome of it? Was it what you thought it would be? I'm sure a huge learning experience.
Yeah, it was, dude. The movie came out we got into Tribeca. We played the opening night of Tribeca, which was so exciting, in May of 2008.
And this is your first real feature film that
first feature. Yeah, like the 2 shorts did pretty well at the Chicago Film Festival, Sundance, that kind of, or different festivals. But this was my first like big feature, and it played. Dude, selling a movie in 2008 was about as much fun as selling a condo in 2008, right? Because we got it sold, and then it was going to come out Halloween 2008, and I think that just the company that bought it went bankrupt October 1st, 2008. So it was such a bummer, right? I was like, got the wind knocked out of my sails. But as a director, if I look back at it, I had so much to learn, right? Like I didn't know it was a horror comedy. I didn't like managing that tone. Like Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson make that look really easy. But it's hard. I needed to have such better skills, communicating with my composer. I needed to put so much work into the temp, like music and the temp needle drop songs. But I had these great performances. I had, these actors that I loved, and, I still have a soft spot for that movie. But I went back and I did a director's cut like 10 years later when we were locked down for COVID. It was like a crazy opportunity. The movie was only like 95 minutes long. I cut 16 minutes out of it and just restructured it and tried to fix it. So definitely saw my shortcomings as a first-time director doing that.
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that after all those many years that you could still go back and I guess you could, right? Go back and recut and
yeah. Well, when you're locked up for COVID, you start getting creative.
Hey, I'm sure you shot it on 35 millimeter, right?
We shot it on 35. Yeah, my buddy Dino Parks, who shot my short films, he's the DP on Yellowstone. But he shot it, and all my friends that did my short films with me did, most of them came and did that first feature. So yeah.
Alicia Lishi is asking, if a movie flops, do you lose everything? No pay for anyone, and investors lose their money too.
If a movie flops, yeah. Well, I mean, if it makes nothing, yeah. then you lose your investment. Hopefully that's, want to avoid that at all costs. You feel very responsible if that
Yeah, I
happens.
mean that's why you want to leverage the foreign pre-sales, because even when you do deliver the final cut, you're going to get some money back from these foreign pre-sales that will make up for some of the investment. And if the investor is first in, first out, then they're somewhat protected for part of their investment, right?
Yeah. 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 Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And then from working on these films and then doing the like reality, because you worked with the Kardashians, what was that like? Because I'm sure a lot of people want to know like what it's really like to work on a show like that, where is, I mean, some of that stuff has got to be uh, partly the storylines. Do you guys sit with Kim and her sisters and be like, all right, guys, what do you want to do for this episode? Or do you just follow them around the house with a camera and just see what they do and say? How much of is
okay.
it like
I got to
scripted?
figure out how I got to figure out how I can answer this. Okay. So Colin, I was, so that was season 11 of the Kardashians when it came on. So it was a very well-oiled machine. I had done shows. I had done a lot of shows with Buna Murray, the production company, before. I'd done like Making the Band and The Challenge and The Simple Life and other shows with them. I had a really good relationship. And so that was the season that Caitlyn Jenner uh, uh, transitioned, right?
Yeah.
And they were shooting a show called I Am Kate. And from my understanding, one of the things that Caitlyn asked is if she could have, a bulk of the regular Kardashian crew, or shoot with them sometimes because there's a bigger comfort level. So
Mhm.
I was in there with another woman named Erin, kind of as co EPs, and to be completely honest, I hadn't watched a lot of the show before I worked on it. So I watched a bunch of the show before, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I see what this is. This is a comedy about rich people. Right there, here's a little reality pod at the middle. Here's the storyline you're focused on in the middle. Like, let's throw mom a 50th birthday party or 60th birthday party, right? And then here's the little reality pod at the end, and you structure it down. And they were, again, it was a very well-oiled machine. Like, honestly, watching the business acumen that trickled down from Kris Jenner, was like a bonus MBA, right? There was such a and I mean, speaking, candidly to you, I had a little experience, but believe it or not, like, I believe, like, when we did Simple Life, like the first season, I think Kim was Paris's stylist. Like, she was like helping her like pull clothes for it. It was crazy, right? And my impression of them just from the media from the media was different from how I found them. I actually found them much softer. Like, they were very uh they seem kinder. Like, I remember, like, first time I saw Chloe, I'm like, man, she's very, very funny. Like, she's got a great sense of humor. She's very quick-witted.
Yeah.
And and they knew the drill. So you knew what the events were going to be, right? You knew what the big tent poles, like, this is Fashion Week in New York, something that you know a lot about from reading your book, right? Fashion Week. And uh, but then when something big happens, like, in their real life in the season, that can take over. Like, if somebody gets out of rehab, or there's something else, going on. But
They
it's
try to stir up the pot with, because I've had friends who've been on like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, and they try to stir up some drama, just obviously, to
oh yeah,
stir things.
I'm not good at that. I'm not good at the, like, I feel like if I'm good at reality television at all, it's like I'm okay with story, and I'm very direct. I feel like if I'm gonna like lie to you, like, I did a little Bachelor type stuff, and there are shows that are very overtly manipulative like that. It's not my strong suit. It's not a good fit. I feel like the best stuff I'm going to get are from honest interview bites that are legit, or like in the case of something like Simple Life, where you could find the humor in it. And if
Yeah.
somebody, like if you start manipulating somebody, if you start lying to somebody, they're not gonna give you anything organic. Their guard's gonna be up. They're gonna think you're a D-bag, you know. So it's not my that's
So
not
you're a reality director with heart, and you
oh,
care.
yeah.
Yeah.
Put that on my tombstone, please. God, I'm so
And
friggin'
how about
that.
90 Day Fiance? That's actually one of my mom's favorite TV shows.
Yeah, that's I mean, it's a routine, dude. It's got to,
I mean, is that for real?
Yeah.
I mean, is that legit? Where like these people are legitimately wanting to get married, and is it
Yes,
more
it's.
so for the green card, or do they actually fall in love?
That's anyone's. Well, from a structure standpoint, it's got a ticking clock built
Yeah.
in, right? Because they have 90 days from when that visa starts to go there,
Mhm.
and it's often one international person, one domestic person, and it's very colorful characters, right? Very colorful characters. But I mean, yeah, you ask yourself, and I think, you play along at home. I've definitely shot that show where I think, okay, these people legitimately, care about each other. And
Mhm.
then, other times where I'm like the audience, not altogether, I don't know. I hope
Yeah.
so, right? We want
Yeah.
we want everybody to have a happy ending, right?
You've done a good enough job on the show to make it enticing and attractive for people to watch. So you're obviously doing something right.
Oh, I can't take all the credit. That's another well-oiled machine that I pitch in when I can. I'm not there's a
Did
smarter
you
mind.
help with any of the casting on that, or is it pretty much you direct whoever is?
No, that one like fit in with my school schedule because it's a rotating wheel. There's so many different couples that you check in at different tent poles that you can kind of plug and play. So if I have a couple, that they in a certain region, it's easy to go. But they're already I mean, I'm on the one I've worked on was the actual 90 day. So they're already like arriving when I
Okay.
come. It's already deep
And
into
then do you do several successive episodes, or is it because sometimes with shows they'll change directors pretty much every week?
Yeah, that one I'm filling in the gaps. But like in my experience, like I'll get couples, right? So I'll know that story arc when I go in. I'll know what's going on there.
Okay.
It's
And for people who are wanting to get into the business, because obviously you teach at Savannah School of Art and Design, right?
College of Art and Design.
Or
Yeah.
College of Art and Design.
Savannah
Is
College, yeah, it's called SCAD. Savannah College of Art and Design, yeah.
okay. For students that are coming into your classes, do you tell them that they have to pretty much decide between scripted and reality, or is it kind of like whatever? It seems like you've been able to do both, but
Yeah.
kind of
No,
unusual, right?
yeah. So, dude, I'm not like I always I felt like felt like reality TV was like the red haired stepchild of filmmaking. I was never it wasn't my like a big a source of pride for me. But I have to respect what it did do, which it taught me a ton about story structure, and it taught me a ton about natural dialogue. Right. So I don't think that you would have to choose. But it will tell you like the early real world, like doing that early Buna Murray stuff. And when you'd shoot 100 hours of footage, right? Like constantly shooting. And then you look in the edit room, this is a 21-minute and 30-second episode, right? And you have to really go down and be like, okay, here are the 8 scenes that make this A story. Here are the 4 scenes that make this B story. And how do you structure in that in a way that it's a satisfying story in one episode? It would, and then when I first started writing scripts, everyone sounded like me. Like everyone had the same like boring, like
Okay.
kind of sound to them. But when you're following real people around with headsets on and making notes, you're like, okay, this is this cadence, this is this, little tick they have when they're talking. So and then if you're shooting a scene for 2 hours and it becomes a minute and 30 seconds of screen time, you're very efficient about what you need to turn this story. Right. Okay. Here's what you need in this scene. This is what this scene is about. This is when I go. So it makes you a very fast and efficient shooter when you're doing scripted stuff. So I don't think you'd have to choose. I think just no story, right? Like do your best to be like always thinking, where's the act out? What am I going to do? Where is this satisfying?
Yeah. I guess I never really thought about that. Watching a reality show in terms of learning how to create most realistic dialogue. I think that's definitely something that's interesting.
Oh yeah, the reality show. I don't know about the realistic dialogue. Sometimes that's like, okay, this is this that you set up. But then when you go into when you're typing, when you're writing a script, I'm always, oh my god, like Killer Movie. All of them were based on,
what you learned listening to all this
on people that I spent a lot of time with. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, awesome. So we have a question here from Pam Renal. She asks, which one is more challenging, scripted or unscripted?
Yeah, unscripted is more challenging.
Unscripted.
The smaller crew, I mean, The Hills changed everything, dude. You're asking non-actors to hit their mark, hit their light, and make an emotional turn. Nothing could make you seem like the world's worst director than, it's so much harder. You have to make it real. You have to make it, you have to try to drill down to the most authentic emotion that you can find any way you can. It's a lot more heavy lifting, and it's a long day. Scripted is like, you got like a happy army. All these, people that are great at their job running, heading up different departments, bringing the best they can to wardrobe, production design, cinematography.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense.
Super talented people. They do. It's just less of them usually to pull it off.
Yeah. And then with the 2 Hallmark movies that you did, My Christmas Love and Christmas Camp.
Yeah.
How did those come about? How did you get to direct those?
Okay, so off Killer Movie, I got a Lifetime movie. It's called The Bachelor to Die For when we shot, with Parker Young. Parker was on it, and Annie Alonso. They were awesome. So I did that with a production company called Mar Vista, and then off that, and then a buddy that had been, we'd been friends since we were assistants together, was an exec at Mar Vista. Matt who was also a longtime friend, was working at Mar Vista, and then this guy Larry Grimaldi sent me the script for My Christmas Love, because they were doing Hallmark movies, and Larry remembered my short films, from that I liked, like rom-coms and musical stuff. And then Christmas Camp was also with them, and I had their relationship with Hallmark at that point. But
did you have to go in and actually pitch your take on the movie? Because I mean, that's what it's with directing, would just getting to know Luke Greenfield, who directed my movie Something Borrowed that I did. Yeah. He was telling me how, much like actors when they go into audition for a movie, he had to go in and pitch his take on that movie. So a lot of the times you have to go in as a director with a certain idea or take on how you'd want to tell that story. Is that something that you normally have to do, or is it now you've created these relationships where people just kind of think of you or know of you? Or
I think that one I was lucky, because I think I did that for, Killer Reality. And then in the early creative conversations, you have lots of references. So you're trying to talk about things you could do. Like one thing when, because I really liked rom-coms, but one thing that I noticed when I was watching the Hallmark movies is that they they often they're it's almost like a hard start, right? You're right into this world. Miriam was joking before the show, the world of baking, right? Or the world of I'm a pediatrician. But when you look at great rom-coms like Something Borrowed, or even like Devil Wears Prada or How to Lose a Guy, there's a great runway to get in where you're really getting a sense of who that character is, right? When you're getting a sense of the city, the environment. And I think those conversations were like, hey, I love the script. Here's some ideas where I feel like we could really open it up, where we could define these characters.
Mhm.
In the back of my head, I wasn't saying it out loud. Like, here's a way we can pretend that these people actually had sex once in their life before this movie starts, and still maintain the G rating we need to have, But so you try to pitch ideas, some visual references, like other films that did it, particularly well. Again, like Something Borrowed, and those kind of like awesome rom-coms that came out of
And
the.
when you do come in to go, when you do go pitch a project or pitch to direct, um, I would imagine you'd want to have a few different versions in case they didn't like it, or if you could tell that they weren't responding, I guess. Or is it you just go in there with one idea of how you would want to tell the story, and then, because when I go into an audition, if a
Yeah.
casting director sees that there may be some potential there, she'll give me some direction, say, you know what, she sees something in there, but then she'll say, or he will say, can you do it this way? Can you add a little bit of more um, intensity or whatever it is, where they actually kind of give you some direction in the room. Sometimes you walk into the room and it's basically like, all right, thanks a lot. Don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out. So you never really know what the temperature of the room is. Sometimes you can tell, sometimes you can't tell. Is it pretty similar for directing, pitching, when you go in there and
No,
um,
it's a great question. Look, you're talking about giving an adjustment, like in the room, which we could have a whole sidebar conversation on, like this world of taped auditions where you don't get like the luxury of meeting the actor in
Mhm.
person and actually getting to know them and giving and trying it a different way, because somebody
Yeah,
gets into a taped audition that it was like 30 takes, right? Then they can't actually recreate that in their coverage if you wanted do it. Not everyone is Colin Egglesfield. It's like there's um, but yeah, dude, listen, I've gone in. Usually, you're going like top three. You're getting sent to network. It's kind of like networks, right? So once you make it past the first couple of rounds and you're like kind of in the top three, then you have to go pitch yourself to the studio or the network. I mean, I got a story for you about like 16 hoops I jumped through, but yeah, all I can do is give my organic take and what I think of it. Usually they're not going to give me an adjustment. Usually they're going to be like, all right, good, well, thanks for coming in.
mhm.
You know, not
Yeah.
we had in mind, but
And we have a
yeah.
good question here from Joe Marples. They're asking, do you always meet the writer so you have an idea of how they wanted their characters perceived or portrayed?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, I would say more often than not, you
No,
don't.
yeah, I don't. You get, and depending on the budget point,
Yeah.
for sure. My Christmas Love, the writers were great. They came to set. Like that script was so fun when I read it. Like, and they were out for the beginning and they were really great collaborators. But stuff with lower budget, yeah, you're it's, I've done shows where I've never met the writer. I've had to like literally like email their agent and say, "Hey, we're wrapped. I'd love to tell them, what a good experience it was. Wish them the best, But yeah, I don't always get to meet them. And then stuff like I've been, I wrote a bunch of stuff, stuff myself. So that's when
Yeah. And so
it's
now that you're writing your own stuff and pitching it, is it just you're leveraging your relationships from just being in the business, or you're starting to reach out to new production companies, or
you try not to go in, cold, right? Like I try to connect the dots. I definitely try to start with people that I had successful working relationships with. But like I got this note that, a friend of mine gave me this advice, try to do one thing for this, like 80s coming of age comedy I wrote. I'm trying to do one thing every day to drive that ball forward. So it's like I have to think outside the box. It's like the stonecutter's credo. It's like you're knocking that stone 100 times, waiting for it to break. Then the 101st first it kind of finally breaks. But
Yeah, because it's, you and I have started to pitch some projects, and I'm starting to learn that, you got to get used to a lot of no's before you hear that, well, I'm sort of interested, but we want to tweak this or change this. And just trying to figure out what is the best way to be able to present to the heads of production at these studios in order to give them what they want. It's not easy.
Yeah, it's tough, man. And sometimes the toughest thing is like that log line, right? Is being able to like do that elevator pitch to like, what is this about? Like, what's the driver, and how do you pitch this in the in the length of an elevator ride, right? Going that in. But yeah, it's I know our pitching it's
There's definitely part to it, and I would say a lot of just experience of having an idea of what each production company looks for, and then maybe lots of dinners and drinks with some of these heads of production.
Yeah. Yup. Send you in for that, brother. You're the secret weapon, dazzling them with your movie star let's
Well, that's what we're working on. So fingers crossed that we actually get some stuff going this upcoming year. Joe Marples is asking, have you ever known of a writer who has disagreed with changes to a script or has played their character? Do some writers keep some amount of creativity during production? Yeah, I guess I would say on most of the projects that I've been a part of, the writer really has not been around. I guess with like a big studio movie, they did have a script doctor on set who was helping us as we did our rehearsal. And once we did the table read where they heard the dialogue being said out loud, then they did come in and change some stuff. But yeah, I would say for more so than not, the writers really kind of, it's like, here, we bought it. Now we get to do whatever we want to it. It seems from my experience.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, I'm sure if you're like, Tony Kushner or, there's plenty of writers, you're probably going to get a producing credit. You'll probably be, involved in the creative process. And sometimes I, like again with Brian and Garrett on My Christmas Love, they were such clever creative guys, and so adept at those fixes. It was one less thing, I had to worry about, right? Like, if they, but I guess the question is like, would the writer be unhappy with, like, is the character that they wrote a different character, not at all how they imagined in the final movie? I almost guarantee how that happens, because I'm going to put my lens on who I think, I'm always leaning more towards the slightly comedic, a little bit more levity, right? So you're going to have a way different, a way different lens. Maybe your interpretation is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, and comedy is different too, because with comedy, sometimes if whatever's on the page is not as funny as maybe something that an actor is able to improvise on the spot. Yeah.
Yeah, a throwaway line can become the best joke in the scene, for sure.
Yep, exactly. So when it comes to directing, what would you say is the best part of directing and the worst part of directing?
Best part of directing, the best part. I love the casting process. I love like when you were asking, like the first thing I did, like on this project I'm up for now, literally the first thing I did after I finished the script was write like a casting list for like the top four roles. Like here would be my dream, list, people that I think would knock this out of the park. You were on that list, by the way, of course. It's great, man, making it like when you're there on set and the cameras are rolling and a scene goes well and you feel like, oh, I captured something that's funny or has real emotion or seems uh uh great, great that's amazing. I don't know what the worst part is. You're balancing your okay, well, how do I do this? I'm on my first day of shooting. Only two of my actors have traveled into town. All the scenes are boarded for this day. We're shooting a Christmas movie in July. It's 94 degrees out, and the snow machine's broken, so I can't shoot any of my
Yeah.
exteriors that are present. So now, what else can I shoot last minute that has these two actors in it, and how can I pivot? To make it so, like in that moment where you're like, I got to make my day. Nobody's going to care if I tell them, at the end of day one, oh, the snow machine broke. I didn't get my scenes. Like, how can I keep calm and still get these 9 pages in the can? Right.
Yeah.
That's tough. But bumping out of that, like sometimes when you get the first time you get notes, when you're all excited, like, here's my director's cut, been working on this, like I'm finally turning this over. And then the notes are just, there's nothing they like. It's just like 7 different people telling you like their sometimes conflicting opinions about what doesn't work. Like that first moment is just like, you feel like you've just read like online tweet, online commentary.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not great.
I would say to be, what makes a great director is being a great problem solver, a great
Yeah.
psychologist, someone who can mediate, but also someone who is a great leader and is able to make decisions on the fly. As you said, you were reading my book. Have you gotten to the part where I talked about Steven Spielberg filming Jaws and how when they were
Yeah.
doing all the tests for the shark in a freshwater pool in Los Angeles, and it was working fine. And then when they brought the mechanical shark out to Massachusetts and put it in the saltwater, the foam started to swell up, the wire started to rust, and they blew through a majority of their budget within the first few weeks. And at 26 years old, Steven
Yeah.
Spielberg's career almost ended before it even started. And he asked the question, what would Alfred Hitchcock do in this moment? And he started to ask questions where it's not about focusing on the problem, it's focusing on what else could we do in this moment to convey or create the idea behind all of this without maybe having to actually show it. And so the image of the woman swimming in the water with
Yeah.
her just kind of getting, tugged under, or just even a fin, is a lot scarier and a lot more. It leads more into your imagination about how dangerous this really could be than actually showing a ugly rubber shark that may just look stupid.
Yeah.
I found
So, and
really,
it's terrifying with that John Williams score. Yeah, I loved it. Dude, I finished your book. I loved your book, by the way, and I talked to you about it. I think like the modalities you talk about in there and navigating the industry, and God, your trajectory is fascinating, man. Fascinating. I
thank
loved it
you, guys. Yeah.
from your modeling from your launch at that Chicago follow up to Armani's house. It was amazing.
And all the speed bumps in between, and it's still, even to this day, it doesn't get easier. But what I love about it is that I get to meet and work with amazing creative people like yourself. I just love being around creative people, and that's one thing that that has kept me brought me keeps bringing me back to this industry, is that just being around creative people who don't take no for an answer, and we just come up with if we hear a no, we identify what would be the best chance for us to get a yes. And I swear, like we're gonna crack this nut. We're gonna
No,
like
for
we
sure.
are definitely going to be working together. From
Yeah, I can't wait, brother. I mean, listen, you continually impress me so much. It's this weird, this trifecta of like this, like the best part of like a nice like midwestern guy who's really business minded and then open to these kind of spiritually aware like modalities, right? Like without the ego going in.
yeah,
Man, everybody, I think everyone navigating life should check out Agile Artist. Give a lot. You're very generous with the things that kind of help turn a key, the key for you, and things that didn't work. Anyway, sorry, not to divert off that
yeah.
like the
Well,
back page of
I
your book.
appreciate that. Well,
But
I appreciate your time, Jeff, and we've gotten to the point of the show now where I want to ask you some questions about your favorite projects, your favorite movies, and I actually pulled up My Christmas Love on Picticular. So what's great about Picticular? So it's time for the Picticular Pick Six, where I'm going to be asking you your favorite six questions for films, actors, actresses. And what's great about Picticular is that you can type in the name of any movie and you can watch Jeff's movies by downloading Picticular. I typed in Christmas Love and boom, there it is. And then the trailer pops up. The actors who are in the movie are here. So you can then click on see whatever other projects they've done. And the great thing about it is that you get to then see where you can actually watch the movie. Because a lot of people are like, well, Colin, where can I watch your movie? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, because all the different platforms, distribution platforms, they change with their licensing agreements and all that. So you can watch A Christmas Love on Prime Video, on Vudu, and Apple TV. So
yes, great
download
act.
Picticular. All right, Jeff, are you ready for the Picticular Pick Six?
I'm ready, brother. I'm
All
ready.
right. So, what was your favorite, or what is your favorite movie of all time?
Okay, this is a tough one. I already gave it away. And it's a top three that goes. One of them is very much in your old AMC world. Soap Dish continues to be one of my favorite movies. And then
Okay.
between that and Cinema Paradiso, which is this Italian movie I love. But The Poseidon Adventure is still my favorite movie of all time. I just love that movie. I could talk about it 4 hours. Yes, I love
All
it.
right. Awesome. I can't wait to watch it. I love
Oh, dude, it's so good.
animation. Okay.
It's a
All right.
flick. It's the
Awesome.
original. The original. Yeah.
This may be the same answer, but what was your favorite movie growing up when you were a kid?
Okay, this is not a butch answer. I'm just warning you, but 16 Candles I think was my favorite
Oh,
movie. I love John Hughes, and like something about that movie just made me so happy. I was an usher in a movie theater. I think I watched it, 25
400
times.
times. Awesome. Love that movie. Absolutely love that movie. Um, all right. What Since it is the holiday season, what is your favorite holiday movie?
Oh, that's a good one. Love Actually is a really sweet I think a really sweet holiday movie. Um yeah. Yeah, let me go with that. I like
Yeah,
them
no, that's a great
like them
choice.
all. A
Yeah.
sweet one.
How about what is your favorite comedy?
Okay, I thought about this. So this is other than your flick, other than Something Borrowed, which I think is an excellent movie. Again, I had a tough time narrowing this down. I was gonna go Working Girl or Moonstruck. I love, but I think from a rom-com perspective, I'm gonna go The Proposal, but with a caveat, right? Just because I think those two comedic actors, all those two shots of Bullock and Ryan Reynolds, like
Reynolds?
doubling down, you get double the jokes in every frame because every time one of them lands a joke, you get the reaction from the other, and I think it's really well. I think it's a really well done rom com.
So when shooting comedies like that, where I mean, when you got two incredibly talented actors who are playing off each other like that, because you've got coverage on one actor at a time, especially with close-ups, do you feel like it's hard to recreate the same authentic reactions or comedy when you're having to shoot a bunch of takes on one actor and then turning the camera around to then have the other actor hearing the same joke over and over again? Do you find that you try to set it up where both cameras are on both actors, so you're getting that authentic reaction for the first time, or what do you think?
Yeah. Well, in that movie, they did a lot. They did a lot more wides and did a lot more two shots, so you could put them next to each other, and you could actually keep, which, I love this stuff. Um, Dude, I haven't done like big studio flicks, so I like to do pickups, right? Like off floor pitch. So while we're rolling, before we'll cut, I'll be like, especially if it's a button in the last line, like, can you do me
Yeah,
a favor? Can you give me this 3 times, in a row, or I'll pitch alts like on the day to kind of keep it fresh. Or sometimes the actors will have a great idea, like in My Christmas Love, and I just have to put them like Meredith Hagner, Bobby Campo, great comedic actors. They'll give you a little bonus, at the end in extra takes. So just trying to keeping it fun, keeping it fresh,
yeah,
trying something different.
yeah. It always helps to hire the best actors for the roles, and
It's
then
everything. It's everything.
it's surprised.
90%,
Yeah.
90% of the movie.
All right. Who is your favorite actor or male character in a movie?
Okay. And I'm good. Not go. I can't go Dex in Something Borrowed, and I'm not going to choose any of the actors. Some of them that have been guests on your
That's
show.
fine,
That loved
but
loved working with. Loved working with. Can't choose them. I love. I think Ryan Reynolds is very funny, and I got to tell you, I saw your buddy Glenn Powell in Set It Up, this rom com he did for Netflix, and I think that dude is got a lot of juice. He's
yeah,
very he's a talented dude.
set it up.
And Present
Check.
Company, Set It Up's great. Great rom-com.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zoe Deutsch, Glenn Powell.
Okay.
It's like Parent Trap meets uh uh Devil Wears Prada. They have two terrible bosses, and they figured the only way that they're gonna make their life decent is if they set their bosses up, because they control their schedules, and then they
Amazing.
fall in love. It's adorable.
Okay, definitely we'll check it out.
Yeah.
And last question: who's your favorite actress or female character?
Okay, great. This one's tough between these two. It's Rose Byrne, but I got to go Emily Blunt, just because, damn, she's so friggin' talented.
Yes.
Crazy.
Do you have a favorite movie that she's in?
So, Colin, I just think, like, when you see that actor in that one role, and you're like, this person is such a star. And so I can't, like, she was so unexpected in Devil Wears Prada, right? But
Yeah.
then you watch her in like Edge of Tomorrow, and I'm like, man, she can do great action, like
Yeah.
completely grounded, right? And then turn around
Chicago.
and then Into the Woods, she's fantastic. She's great.
Yeah.
So great.
And a sweetheart too. Super sweet.
Okay.
Super, super sweet. All right, Jeff, thanks so much, man, for your time and for your insight and knowledge. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to get a hold of Jeff or want to take any of his classes, you can get a hold of Jeff at his website, it looks like, jefffisherdirector.com.
Yeah.
Uh,
Jeff LA33 on Instagram, I think, is my handle there.
or you could just go to my Instagram, and I've tagged him for today's episode, so you can go there as well and start following him. Jeff, before my guests leave, I love to ask the question: what inspires you?
What inspires you? Like watching great work inspires me. I saw Spielberg's new movie last night, The Fabelmans, which I'm still like processing, but just seeing amazing, seeing great work, whether it's work that makes me laugh, work that moves me, hopefully does both. It inspires me, man. Your book inspired me to 100%.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's why we all love great movies, and
Yeah.
I'm so looking forward to working with you. And I know
too.
we're gonna do something this year, my friend.
Very soon.
Yes,
It's
very
happening.
soon. Very soon.
Manifesting that.
All right. Yes, putting it out there into the universe.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks so much.
Thank
Have
you,
a great
brother.
rest
So
of
great
your week.
talking to you. Thanks
You
for having
too.
me.
Talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Thanks again so much for being here for another episode. We've man, this was episode 5 already for season 5, and thanks so much for your guys's support, and hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. And as we get ready for the holiday season here, I just want to let you know too that we are going to be doing the holiday hang with Colin on I believe we're going to be putting up the information page for it. I want to say it's the 16th, and it is going to be December 16th. It's going to be an evening of it's going to be 3 hours. So we're going to be doing some massive goal setting. We're going to be doing essentially some mind mapping, where we're going to kind of create what we want to create for the new year, for 2023. Start putting down a little bit of a roadmap or a blueprint for what you want to create for the upcoming year. And then we're also going to be doing some cooking, and we're going to have some beverages. So it's going to be a 3 hours of just essentially a holiday dinner party virtually. And we're going to be breaking up into groups. So there's going to be some activities going along with it, and then also a great way to network and to meet some new people and just share what you guys are up to for the upcoming year. And if you are in Chicago or planning on coming to Chicago for Ramadrama, the R3 stem cell clan are going to be there, myself and Kathleen Francesco. And we're going to be doing vitamin infusions. We're going to have some information about stem cell therapy. And if anyone is out there and needing any sort of information about stem cell therapy and what the potential benefits are for you or any of your loved ones, you can go to r3stemcell.com and get a free consultation with our medical director and find out if stem cell therapy is an option for you and whatever it is that you're needing. So look forward to seeing you guys in Chicago. If you can make it to this upcoming weekend, you can go to ramadrama.com for tickets. And in the meantime, hope you guys have a great beginning to your week, and sending you guys all lots of love. All right. Talk to you later. See you soon.